Our final panel will discuss what aspiring women entrepreneurs need. The moderator for the panel will be Dr. C.J. Meadows, Director, the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center, SP Jain School of Global Management. And the panelists will be Nandita Baruah and Sophia Shakil with the Asia Foundation, Ruby and Salesh Lohani with the Melange Store Nepal, Grace Park with DocDoc, Wanda with Cocoon Capital. Dr. Meadows, please begin the panel session.
Thank you very, very much. And I'm hoping everybody can hear me now. Yes, raise your hand if you cannot. Yeah, actually, they raise their hands if they can. So that's okay. And that's part of what we do as entrepreneurs. We give mixed signals and we make decisions, then we incubate, then we need to go and reverse them. And it's hard for our teams to follow us. But the big question is, what do we need to be doing as leaders, as women entrepreneurial leaders, building organizations? My first question today, before introducing anybody, is going to be, who are you? So everybody's going to introduce yourselves. And what do you do connected with women's entrepreneurship? Now, I'd like to start with Nandita and Sophia, who are connected with Asia Foundation. I'd like to then go to Grace Park and Wanda Lee. And then I've been told that Ruby and Sailesh have an incredible entrepreneurship story. So I'd like to finish with that entrepreneurship story. So Nandita and Sophia, would you be willing to introduce yourself?
Sure.
And share with us what you do connect with women entrepreneurs?
Thank you, Dr. Meadows. I'll start. I'm Nandita Baruah. I'm currently the country representative for the Asia Foundation in India. And the foundation is basically one of the organizations which works to support women entrepreneurs in the different countries we work in. We work in 18 countries. And in India in particularly, we are really looking at women in the gig economy and the sector of the virtual enterprise and space and employment space. And that's what we do. My own background is in the development sector for 25 years. And I'm really pleased to be here. So I know we'll have more time for question and answers. I'll leave it short. Hand it over to Sophia to introduce herself.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sophia Shakil. Thank you, Nandita, for the introduction to the Asia Foundation. I will just add, I'm the Director for Economic Programs with the Asia Foundation, based in Manila. I used to be the country representative for Pakistan. And just to expand on what Nandita said, we work across Asia, about 18 countries. And we support women in the area of supporting women entrepreneurs. We take a sort of multifaceted approach to support women's economic empowerment through skills training, through expanding their access to finance, access to other resources, and especially focusing on building digital literacy, connecting women on platforms, entrepreneurs. And as we go along, I can share some more examples as with Nandita. But as Nandita said, we support women to enhance their livelihoods. And we do that through a multiple range of interventions.
Beautiful. Now, Wanda with Cocoon Capital, who are you and how are you connected with women's entrepreneurship?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Meadows. Currently, I'm investment director at Cocoon Capital. We are a seed stage venture capital fund that is based in Singapore and investing in B2B enterprise tech startups across Southeast Asia. Connected to entrepreneurship from an investment perspective. Most recently, I left a high growth Silicon Valley startup where I was head of strategy and operations and chief of staff to be part of a founding team at a maternal mental health startup called MOL. So I've kind of been on both sides of the table related to entrepreneurship, but currently as an investor.
Brilliant. So we've got facilitators and an investor. Grace, who are you and how are you connected to this space?
Hi, everybody. I'm Grace Park, and I must be on this panel because I'm a female co-founder of my company called DocDoc. What we do, just real briefly, is we empower patients through their doctor discovery journey. What we've built out is our AI platform we call Hope, the heuristic for our outcome, price, and experience. And through predictive analytics, we're here to help patients be able to match with the right doctors to improve medical outcomes, decrease costs, and delight the patients throughout their journey in the healthcare system. Prior to what I leverage in my startup, really leverages on my background in healthcare. I've been in corporate for 10 years. My last role being the managing director of Medtronic in 10 countries here in Asia. But prior to that was also at Bristol Myers Squibb Pharmaceuticals in Asia, US, and Africa. I've been here in Singapore, working throughout Asia for the last 17 years. Landed here on a Fulbright scholarship after graduating from Harvard Business School and the Cocoon School of Government, a dual degree program. Prior to my career in healthcare, actually, my first career was in the United States Army. I was an Army officer, served for 5 years after graduating from the United States Military Academy at West Point.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you very much. And Ruby and Sailesh, Little Bird tells me that you've got an incredible story to tell about your journey to entrepreneurship. So Grace is an entrepreneur. Wanda has been an entrepreneur. And Nandita and Sophia are facilitating entrepreneurs. But what is your story?
Okay, hello everyone. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Ruby Rizal Lohani, founder of Socheco.com, an e-commerce site over here in Nepal. And within that, I'm leading my own retail business of fashion and IT also. We have approximately 6 outlets over here around the country in Nepal. And I have a quite interesting twisting story that led me into this entrepreneurship in this business sector. Actually, I am a science graduate. I have completed my master's degree in environment science. And it's always been my dream to work as an environmentalist, seeking for any contribution from my side towards the environment or towards the sector also. I was willing to work in one of the reputed NGOs so I could travel across the country outside also. But during my master's second year, I went through an accident. It was a bike accident and I got badly injured on my leg. Doctors were quite hopeless regarding the treatment of my leg. They thought that I won't be able to stand up on my knees also. So around that 6-month time, that was a leap in my life that twisted my life. I just told my husband, who is by my side, as always, not only today, as always. So I asked him that if I could join him on his business so that I can contribute. That is how I joined this business. And now it's been approximately 10 years. Now I am proud of myself that I am here. I'm contributing to my country. I'm contributing to the women entrepreneurship. I'm leading as one of the leading ladies or leading women in Nepal. So I have my own recognition. And now I think there are approximately 50 plus staffs who are working under me. Directly under me. And I think more than 50% are ladies, women's. Not only that, all the 6 outlets which I have opened throughout the country, every branch supervisors are ladies. That is how I am promoting the women in the business or women in work from my side. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Beautiful. Now, how does Sailesh feel about that?
And with her broken legs. Today she drive around 300 kilometer. I travel across Delhi this morning, and she was in another city. Right now we are sitting at western part of Nepal, and she was on far western. So it is all the jungle road, and she traveled 300 kilometer, and we met up this morning only. We are in a hotel
for this meeting.
for this meeting. I was in Delhi till yesterday.
Beautiful. So I guess I've got to ask the question that may be on a lot of people's minds. Why? So Ruby and Sailesh, and then the other women entrepreneurs on the panel. Why take up entrepreneurship? Isn't there an easier way to have a day and like earn a living?
It could be, but once we went through this, nothing is best than this. Just you will enjoy the one that the best food, the one of the delicious food is in front of you, and how you enjoy this. The entrepreneurship is same like that. Once you taste it, once you feel it, you will just enjoy it. There is no restriction, there is no boundary, there is no any second thought that no, I could have been better, I could have been in better place if I were not in here. That won't ever come in my mind.
Wow. Now, I've heard so many entrepreneurs say the first piece of advice is don't do it. And yet you're not telling us that. Grace and Wanda, what about you guys? What? Do it? Don't do it. This is a super hard road, or this is the best fruit available. What is entrepreneurship?
Wanda, do you want to take the lead, or I'm happy to?
Absolutely. Either one of you.
Go ahead, Grace. Go ahead, Grace.
So the simple answer, there is no simple answer. And I think that if an entrepreneur has to be told what to do, then it's just not enough to sustain that person throughout the highs and lows throughout the entire journey. She has to want it and cultivate that warrior spirit, which I believe is in each and every one of us. It's like a muscle that needs to be exercised, or a gene that needs to be expressed. And so, we all have it. And if you want to cultivate it and make it happen, it has to come from within and not from any external, there has to be supporters and activists and sponsors and advocates out there, but it truly has to come from within.
So you've got to have it in you to be an entrepreneur, and you need the ecosystem, whether you've got a Sailesh by your side or somebody else, in your ecosystem. There's got to be you, and it's got to be the right fit, and you've got to have the right ecosystem.
Yeah, actually, we are developing. Yeah, we are developing an ecosystem, which is the online portal that we are running is and the melange store, which as of now Ruby is heading. Whereas in generally, let me add one more point. Generally, in any businesses, if husband and wife are starting, then always husband is chairman. But in my case, he is chairman of the company. I'm not the chairman.
So do you two have multiple companies, and you lead something, she leads something?
Yeah, we are a group of company. And the interesting story within me is I have started the business with I believe it was less than $100. Yeah, less than $100. 25 years back, I was only 18, and I started a company with less than $100, because what I believe is investment. Yes, investment is required, but even determination is more important than your investment. And another thing I have realized is investment is only a matter of zero. That time I required few zero behind that 100. Now I require more zeros behind that 100. So only the zero standing behind 100 is important. But instead of that, if you don't have good idea, good thought, like what problem you are addressing, like how I succeeded in my career in my businesses, I started computer trading business on small city of Nepal. There was no concept of selling computer, and I was the first one who sell computer in second city of Nepal. So that problem I addressed, and you cannot believe there used to be a queue. Like if you are going to pay some bill or something like that, one goes with the quotation and second will sit at the chair and get the quotation. So that is how we work. So it is like, and now we have multiple company, including like production unit, and as of now my main focus is we are looking into the consumer segment. So and entire consumer segment is headed by Ruby only. I don't look after anything. It is all Ruby business. So she is looking after this, and I hope she'll do best.
Beautiful. So it sounds like you've given a lot of encouragement to each other. You've both built businesses.
No, it is her. No, I cannot do anything. She has to do by herself.
Well, she's got her businesses and you've got your businesses.
Yeah.
And you're both growing them.
Yeah, we are going parallelly.
We are going parallelly.
Wonderful. Now, Wanda, you mentioned before becoming an investor that you were an entrepreneur as well. Is that correct? Did I get it right?
Yeah. Yes, I was. I was at a maternal mental health startup.
Why did you just get a job?
Good question. Why did I?
You can get a job. Come on.
That's a good question. I think it was, it came down to if not now, when. I think that was a big part of my decision-making process, but also a mission and a cause and a problem that I wanted to be a part of solving, which was mental health, and in particular maternal mental health. So it was a confluence of things, but also to Grace's point earlier about having an ecosystem and an environment that facilitates a lot of that. So it was started by an ex-partner of mine at a different fund, and so having him and his team as well, a different co-founder who was previously a medical professional. So kind of a confluence things of the people on the team, the problem that we wanted to solve, and also mental health going into COVID, at the start of COVID, or the pandemic, if you will, and it being a big problem to solve. So for me, it was, if not now, when? And so I made that leap.
Wow. So there's a problem to solve. You know how to do it, or at least you have some vision of how to start. And you've got the right set of skills and desires, and you just go for it. You've got the passion, you can go for it. Now, there must have been struggles along the way. Oh yeah, Wanda's smiling. And I think everybody else must be smiling. I'm going to ask everybody on the panel, what might have made the journey a little easier? And what do you think other aspiring women entrepreneurs need? Let me go up to Sophia and Nandita first.
If Nandita, if it's okay, I just wanted to, first of all, it's so inspiring to hear, these three wonderful stories and your journeys to do these startups. It's really remarkable. I'm just going to throw in a kind of a question, and more from the perspective of what we have gathered at the Asia Foundation. A lot of this is perennial. It's been systematic, structural roadblocks that particularly women entrepreneurs face across Asia, but many other places. But during this pandemic, I don't want to use the word opportunity in the same sentence as the pandemic, but we had the chance to look at to do some rapid surveys targeting women, vulnerable women workers, as well as women-owned enterprises across Asia. So we did a set of studies in South Asia and a set of studies in Southeast Asia, country-level studies. Nandita can later share a little bit more insights from the India portion, but I'll just give you a general overview, and that's my question to the three entrepreneurs. colleagues on this panel. I mean, one thing that we found from the survey throughout, that women were disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. But the biggest, I mean, when we unpacked it, the biggest kind of hindrance to sustaining their business was and startup, and starting it up, then sustaining it, and all of this came to light in the pandemic, was the access to finance, especially when you're when you're taking a hit. It may be a crisis situation, but it might just be a temporary loss of marketability or whatever. So access to finance. And then digital literacy. I mean, this doesn't apply to you, but a lot of you also work with women entrepreneurs. So not having the access to the technologies, which we now know are so important to run a business. I mean, everything has gone, the supply chains, delivery chains have really transformed. So, but I mean, your stories are wonderful. And I would really like to hear how you may have overcome the barriers to entry into, starting up a business. How do you navigate the sort of the legal regulatory framework, then accessing the finance, and then getting all the tools that you need to be able to run with success? Nandita, did you want to add a little? Sorry.
If I can build on that, I noticed from a wonderful, wonderful TED Talk about women and finance that when women go to VCs for funding for their startups, they focus on the stability and how they're building something to last, and they're gonna protect this customer base and the business. But when men go and stand in front of a VC, they talk about the entire world of the entire market that they're going to capture and how they're going to get really fast. It's all upside. So the women are focused on safety, and the men are focused on upside. Who generally gets more money out of the VCs? The men, the upside guys. Another tendency that I want to bring to mind is job applications. If a woman fits 90% of the job application requirements, she'll apply. If she doesn't, she figures she's not qualified. If a man fits about half, maybe 60%, he'll go ahead and apply. So is this sort of focus on safety and risk and being sure that you're going to get it? Is this holding women back, and did it hold any of you back? I think this is a particular problem for finance and for IT, where you have to get out there and mess around with a lot of tech that you may not be familiar with, but go risk it anyway. So, Sophia, yeah, with that in the back of your mind, yes, let's ask our entrepreneurs, did any of this impact you for finance and IT in your ventures? Wanda, Grace, Ruby, anybody pop up?
I'm happy to kind of, I would probably come at it from an investment perspective, Dr. Meadows. I think, it's pretty, the narrative hasn't changed over the last kind of 8 years that I've been on both sides of the table, where, venture funds still aren't investing in female and diverse founders, even though, mountains of research does confirm that unlocking innovation requires diversity, and still women are denied access to the capital. But so when we look at entrepreneurship, there's usually kind of like, I would like to think about 3 types of capital, right? There's human, and then there's financial and social, right? And so human would be the skills, the business knowledge, which I assume all of our audience has. That's why they're here and looking to keep improving. Financial capital, of course, is necessary to fund the enterprise. And then the social side of things would be the resources, the relationships that you have, and by extension, the access to funds and capital. And that's the part that I think is overwhelmingly missing, right? That's the biggest challenge. I think at Cocoon Capital, we also partner with an organization called She Loves Tech, and time and time again, the biggest challenge is fundraising. And so what we've done at Cocoon Capital and the team here that they've done is to launch something called Female Founder Mentoring Hours. And it happens a couple times a year. And we gather all the VCs. We gather a lot of the VCs in Southeast Asia. And we partner with some of the governments. And we just host, right, provide this access, unfettered access to VC mentors to bridge that gap in hopes of moving the needle and leveling the playing field of this kind of missing piece of social capital.
So there is a missing piece in capital, and there is a missing piece with the tech skills and the tech focus. Grace, have you found that to be true?
I fall under the demographic where my co-founder is my husband and a male. So in terms of fundraising issues, I personally have not felt discriminated because I was a woman to be passed over. But I do hear it. I do read it from the statistics and the research and anecdotally as well. I think what's unique about healthcare in my sector is that it typically tends to be more female professionals, and so we have better stats. So it's like more 67% are women who go into this sector, and they're a lot better representing the executive leadership teams as well. And oftentimes the entrepreneurs who do start often are October after a career for a decade or two in corporate, having relevant experience, so whether a doctor or just experience in this sector. And so I think that's one of the ways in which where many women tend to hedge some of the risks, right? Because at the end of the day, you start to fail. It's a highly distributed, very narrow pathway. But these are just some of the ways in which women tend to mitigate some of the risks that are almost inevitable, but they have to face and overcome and try and prevent women. So it's I think that's some of the things in which, and so I think the key part is why they wait a bit longer is this sector is highly regulated. It is very traditional. Technology-wise, we're still using fax machines, and so it's something in which having a lay of the land or understanding the ecosystem and who are the players and having and cultivating those relationships are really important, and I think that's why women tend to go a bit later to cultivate those relationships and have activists as part of their team, whether they're being investors to help open doors or to open doors for funding or partnerships.
Great, thank you. And by the way, speaking of technology issues, can everybody please make sure you don't have the stage stream running behind your open screen. Please shut the stage screen off. And Grace, if you could check on your mic, that would be super cool because you're saying some wonderful, important things, and I want to make sure everybody hears you. Nandita, I think you had something to say.
Yeah, no, I just actually was going to say that, the things that Wanda pointed out in terms of access to finance, technology, and the social capital, these have become areas which really need particularly a lot more investment from all of us, those who are entrepreneur themselves and those who support organizations like us. Two things, I think mentoring for young upcoming women entrepreneurs is still a major challenge. Men work through their networks. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, but you have a friend and a network of entrepreneurs, there is a network and they expand and then they build on that. We seem to have limitations in accessing a network that's ours, or definitely not the ones which are run by the men. Negotiation, I think, Dr. Meadows, as you said, most of the time when we are mentoring entrepreneurs, that's the one skill. How do you negotiate for an idea which is really excellent? But you're looking to reach that 90%, and a man will go with that idea at 60% viability and negotiate for it. So the ability to negotiate and those skills become so critical. And finally, I think we do have to look at COVID and where we are today, Dr. Meadows. And we've been researching the stimulus packages all governments globally have brought out to kickstart the economy. Honestly, the absence of a lens to further gender and women entrepreneur is very, very concerning. You can't kickstart your world global economy back by not focusing on women entrepreneurs and their needs, knowing that there's a lack of finance, there's an issue with technology, there is more long-term planning. So I just think that we have to hear this out and look at how we can all contribute.
Ooh, you know what? You've brought to mind a few statistics that I ran off to Google this morning. And I think this is really, really telling. And I wonder if it's going to change any of our answers in the rest of the panel. Let's hear this from a 2020 study. Research shows that women-owned companies generate higher revenues than those owned by men. It also showed that women are more effective as a leader and better at creating jobs. Experts at Boston Consulting Group, BCG, also found that women made twice as much per dollar of investment than men. No explanation as to why. But here's another key bit of statistics. Women now surpass men in college degrees by almost 3 to 2. Women's earnings grew 44% in real dollars from 1970 to 2007, compared with 6% growth from men. Women are becoming stronger entrepreneurs as well. So, in the face of all of this, why do we still have problems? Anybody?
Happy to jump in here, Dr. Meadows, and I think it's a little bit similar, but maybe a different angle to the stuff I was talking about earlier. And it's that investors in general will tend to look for their own tribe, if you will, right? And so then if historically there are fewer women entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs, then we're just perpetuating the current kind of funding gap for female founders, because the VCs, that 90% of investors, when we've done kind of a survey on our own, 90% of VCs or investors prefer warm introduction to founders, right? And there's an expectation that founders must have a network that intersects with investors, which then severely limits, non-traditional founders and, would put, in general, female founders, the diverse founders, at a fundraising disadvantage.
Ruby and Sailesh. Ruby, did you feel at a disadvantage when you were starting up your economic activities?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Did you feel at a disadvantage when you were starting up your economic activities? And did you face any technological or finance barriers?
Yeah, of course. Whenever you start any business or when you are entering in any new field, financially, there is always a challenge issue in every field. We also had, as Sailesh told, when we started, even till the date, we don't have any additional or extra investor in our business. What we are doing is from our own side only. Self-investment. Like we are on our self-investment only.
You're bootstrapped. You self-invested.
Yeah, that's why.
But yes to investment. It is
of course. If with a proper vision, with a proper market survey, or with a proper design designated issue, if we get any opportunity. But in the background, as you asked, whether the challenge was there or not, yes, of course it was there challenges, but managing it properly, I think that is how you grow up or how you build up. The shortage issue or the one who are pulling your legs or not letting you to go further, making up all those things is what one is built up, as per mine.
Yeah, actually the challenge is, I think challenge is just an excuse. suppose why you didn't came to office today? Because I have a headache. And if you take a paracetamol tablet, maybe you can get relief of a headache and you can go office if you are willing to. There is saying like you don't want to or you don't know how to. If somebody don't want to do anything, they will never do. If they don't know how to, then they can learn and do. So challenges are just an excuse in my belief system. I never feel challenges as challenge. Every day there is new challenge. If you finish one challenge, next challenge is waiting at your
In
door.
our case, every challenge is an opportunity for us.
We just take it as an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a very big difference between starting a new venture organically in a brand new market with no data versus scaling up something that you would go to VCs for. So there's a lot of differences there. We do have a poll before we go away in 5 minutes. But I want to make sure to ask each of you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people here, to any woman entrepreneur who wants to start something, be it something small or something that's going to grow into the next Google. What is your message to them and what's your key advice? Short time each. Jump in when you're ready.
Maybe while the entrepreneurs think through their answer, maybe I can just give my perspective, which is what I'd like to see. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to hear obviously from the actual entrepreneurs and venture capitalists, but I think that, having networks, strong networks is so important. And the power of networks is just unleashes so much, potential. So that would be my takeaway.
Absolutely. And there's a wonderful thing called the Human Capital Institute. And the case that they're making is that now now that we've moved beyond the age of agriculture, beyond the age of the Industrial Revolution, beyond the knowledge revolution, now we're in the creative age. And the key capital to take account of is your creative capital and your social capital. So the ecosystem is everything. Who's next?
Can I? I'm happy to jump in here.
Please.
Okay. Go ahead.
For me, the message I want to give to other entrepreneur or other upcoming entrepreneur, the main thing I want to give the message is whenever you start anything, any business or any job, anything, just remind the one formula, that is just do it. Whenever you are starting or anything is in your mind or willing, I think you are going to call your mother in the evening or in the morning. No, if you want it, just do it. The main formula is the thing. And another is the 5 questions. Ask yourself the 5 questions, like what are your product or your business is different from the other? What is the difference? Okay. And the second, why people should select you or your product? Okay. And the third one is who are your target? What are your target customer or target place? What is your target? The fourth one, what you give the special thing so that the customer, the guest, or anyone could return back to you. Okay. And the fifth one is your unique selling features. What make yourself an outstanding one from the others? Because here today there are thousands and millions of entrepreneurs, thousands and millions of businessmen, businesswomen. So what are your unique features? What are you giving different from others? So these are the 5 points I want to share with the new entrepreneur. So it may help you. That's how we are working. So it may also help you. That's from my side.
I'd like to add a small point on this.
Please.
Because I believe most of the viewers must be women, since it is women-focused program. So because people come me for some suggestion, Then they said, okay, I start with 500,000, and if business go well, then I'll invest more. Then what I say to them, then let's do one thing. You have a baby, just feed him when he or she will complete their bachelor. Don't feed because once they have completed their bachelor and they are good enough, then you start feeding. Don't feed now. And that is what the startups always fail, or this is a common mistake by the startup. They think once my business will grow, then I will leave my current job, or then I'll add more fund. At least you have to invest more in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of brain, when your child is growing, not when he is grown. So this is my message to everyone who is thinking for business. Just do it now, as Ruby said, just do it and invest on time. Don't wait that business grow, like your child will grow and feed. So this is my message to everyone who wants to start business.
Beautiful. So just do it and raise that baby now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
With full effort.
Nandita, Grace, and Wanda.
Yeah, I think, Dr. Meadows, to me, one of the biggest challenges we face when we are dealing with women entrepreneurs is self-belief, because the environment and the society outside is actually going to question you at every step. So my thing is, do not give up the belief in the idea that you have birthed it. You birthed the idea, go with it, believe in it, because there are enough who will tell you it will not work, even if it's one of the best ones. So we work a lot on self-belief and making sure that you don't give up your idea simply because some third party is telling you it's not going to work. You have to try it out, and not all businesses make it. It's not just for women. A lot of businesses by men don't make it. So why is it that women have to take the chance to say, oh, what if it doesn't make, and what's going to happen to me? Nothing. Same thing that has not happened to the men. You'll try another business, So keeping that belief on is very, very critical.
And I think it's critical to build on what you've said, to note, is it just a matter of timing, or was there a particular reason that your business failed, if it failed? Heinz actually went bankrupt. They failed not because of the trends of people moving into cities and advances in canning technology. They failed because of cash flow and operational problems. So they went bankrupt, and what did they do? Started the same damn business again. And that's the Heinz today. They've done pretty well. Airbnb. They launched 4 times. VCs didn't want to touch them. And they're doing just fine right now. Okay. Grace and Wanda.
Hopefully my audio is better this time around. The advice I give to entrepreneurs is be very clear in your why, having purpose. The purpose behind my company, DocDoc, actually stemmed from a deeply personal story with my daughter needing a liver transplant and the hardships, even being in the industry, to get the answers I needed. So it's about having greater transparency and lifting the darkness in that entire process. And so I think that if you have a purpose that's much greater than yourself, it's going to help you, especially in the entrepreneurial journey, as there's going to be lots of highs and lows, many dark days along the pathway. And so I think having that purpose and being clear on your why will help sustain you through it. The other bit I would mention is, from my beloved professor who passed away a few years ago, Professor Warren Bennis, he coined the acronym VUCA. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. As entrepreneurs, we have to be very comfortable in VUCA and, really bring out that warrior spirit, as I mentioned earlier, that we all have, but just needs to be cultivated, to be brought out as you embark on the entrepreneur journey. I think is very important. And what Sophia mentioned earlier about surrounding yourselves with a support network, there's no Lone Rangers out there. And so having that network, and it doesn't have to be family. I mean, initially my family was not supportive of this at all, but it's finding that tribe or that support network, that activists who will help you open doors, despite many of these statistics that show that maybe women are largely discriminated against.
Beautiful. Wanda, and then we've got a poll and challenge.
Sure, I'll keep it short. But kind of building on Sophia and Grace's points, it would be kind of coping with failure and not being afraid to fail. And I think, at least from an investment perspective, and as an investor, we see a lot of missteps even after we invest in companies, and that is normal. And hopefully, with the support network that you have and the team that you have, you fail forward, and you learn and you pick yourself up and move on. So hopefully that would be where I would come from.
Beautiful. Thank you. You're incredible people. And I encourage everyone to link with you guys on LinkedIn or any way that they can link with you, because you got so much more to share with us and teach us all. Thank you very, very much. We've got a quick poll, which is kind of challenging for everybody listening in. Can we run the poll now? Thank you for you fabulous, fabulous panelists. Thank you. Okay, apparently the poll is on. And are you guys able to access the poll? Sophia's looking at me like I'm nuts.
I don't.
Sorry.
Where is?
I am told it's accessible now. That yes, the poll is
Oh,
on.
okay.
Do you guys see the poll now?
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a no and a yes.
No, I'm not getting. We are in the private chat. Okay. Yeah, fine.
Poll is not visible here. The question is, do you believe some inspiring
What
women
about
entrepreneurs
the
need-
participants as a whole? I am told yes. The participants as a whole have started voting.
Nice.
Okay. And I think the results from the poll are going to tell us some directions that Quest could take in terms of how to support women entrepreneurs and what sorts of programs Quest can launch that would be really helpful. So I'm going to leave it to the system. Aha. Okay. I've got something back here. What do aspiring women entrepreneurs need the most? Risk capital was only 9.8%, mentorship and support 15.7%, networks 11.8%, all of the above 62.7%, and none of the above 0, big fat 0. So women entrepreneurs need risk capital, need mentorship and support, and need the networks. Next, would you be able to help with any of the below? Contributing to initial small capital 2.4%. Providing mentorship and advisory, 26.8. Both, 14.6. None of the above, 56.1. Seems to me that, yes, there is capital out there, and this might be a good forum to get some mentorship and advice. Are you able to support in your individual capacity? 23.8%. Through your organization, 14. Both, 16. None of the above, 0. That's telling that nobody can support in no regard. Everyone here today can either get their organizations or themselves with their own pockets to give support to women entrepreneurs. Mike, I think that might be the last question, so I leave it up. None of the above was updated to 43%. Okay, so I think the big message is whoever can support and can step forward, please do. And I know there are people at Quest ready to take it forward. Speaking of taking it forward, Mike.
Thanks so much, Dr. Meadows, and thanks to all our panelists. A great session.